legends who love this show. Welcome back to another soul shifting episode of Mind Over Masculinity. I'm your host, Avik, and today, oh man, today we are about to break something wide open. So, before we do that, dear listeners, have you ever wondered, is there a formula to find a breakthrough? Is there actually a blueprint to pulling yourself out of the mud when life feels like a non stop mess? Do let me know, dear listeners, what you think, even if you have thought something like this on our podcast platforms or on our social media platforms. Would love to listen to your perspectives and views. And well, if anyone knows the answer, it's our guest today. Yes, Rob Wentz. So, welcome to the show, Rob.
Thank you very much, Avik. Great to be here as always. Great to be talking to you. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, exactly. Fine. Lovely. So, Rob, before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Dear listeners, Rob is the founder of the Unstuck Movement, a best-selling author, a dynamic speaker, a strategist, and an award-winning radio personality. But what makes Rob's voice stand out isn't just the credentials, it's the comeback behind them. Yeah. So he's a man who's gone from addiction and self-sabotage to mentoring thousands into breakthroughs, helping people take their catastrophes and turn them into the gifts. So buckle up whether you are trying to lead better, love harder, and or just figure out what the hell you are doing in your life. So this one's for you. So Rob, welcome to the show. Welcome to Mind Over Masculinity.
Great to be here. Excited to talk about this. Excited to share some life experiences that hopefully are helpful to others out there. Help them find some breakthroughs.
Amazing, amazing. So Rob, the big one, is there a formula to find the breakthroughs in any situation? What is it?
So when I was going through, and I think we all hit plateaus in life, we all need breakthroughs, we all get stuck. And this happens various times in our life. And for me, there was a significant one that occurred a couple of years ago that I was going through a long-standing separation and divorce from my ex-wife. I was really stuck for a long time. And when I say a long time, several years. And so when I came out of all of that, now that I'm on the other side of it, I was just kind of looking back at what changed that caused me to get unstuck. What did I do knowingly or unknowingly that got me out of the place that I was at? And
Right.
some things popped up that were vital to me getting unstuck and having that breakthrough. I called it the vitals system, right? Because the word vitals, when you go to the doctor, they check your vitals, to see how you're doing, to see how your body's operating, because there's vital parts of you that need to be operating, at a functional level for you to be okay, for you to be healthy. And so as I became unstuck and I found a breakthrough, I found these vitals were an acronym of things that I used, implemented into my life that caused major breakthrough. Do you mind if I walk through the 6 vitals?
Sure, please.
So the first one is vision. Having a vision for what you want in your life or your business. That could be health-wise, relationships, spiritually, whatever it might be. You need a vision, and the vision has to be really clear for you. And this is really the cornerstone of all of this, because without a vision, you don't know which direction you're heading in. You can't head in a direction without knowing what the outcome is. And to know what the outcome is, then you can reverse engineer how you want to get to that place. And the cool thing about our minds is if we set our minds on an intention, our mind is constantly looking for that intention and helping us unconsciously move towards it. We probably have all, well, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us have heard of the reticular activating system. When you're deciding to buy a new car, you start seeing that car everywhere. There's been a company recently that I want to work for. I'm seeing that company everywhere. I didn't see them before, but now I'm seeing them everywhere because my mind is on wanting to work with them. And so this reticular activating system will start to point us in the direction we want to go. So if you don't have a clear vision, the clearer the vision, the more your mind can help you get there. That's huge. That's a gigantic place to want to be. The next part of that is impact. The vital system, the I part, the impact is so important because we all should want to make an impact in the world and in people's lives and in our own life. And the best way I think of impact is when you say a word, somebody's name might pop up in your head. Like when you say leadership, I think John Maxwell. Uh, when you say action, I think like Tony Robbins or maybe Elon Musk, somebody who takes action. When I think boldness,
Yeah. Mm.
I might think Donald Trump because that's whether you like him or not, that guy's bold,
Mhm.
right? So,
Mm.
what word is associated with you? And if you have a word associated with you, that's the impact that you're making
Mm.
in the world and what you do. So it's really, really important. The
Uh,
T stands for technology. Now, technology is something we can't avoid, and technology can mean many different things. But I look at technology as a very, very important part of this puzzle because, especially in the world we're living in right now,
Yeah,
technology is using a lot of us. We're not using it.
exactly.
And so, Avik, right now with what you do right here, this podcast, right, you're using technology to your advantage.
Mm.
How do you use technology to your advantage, not let it run your life? And that is a huge component. Maybe,
Mm.
50 years ago, that might not have been a bigger deal, but right now it's probably the most important thing to pay attention to from a day to day. How am I using
True.
my phone, smartphones, the internet, AI
Mm.
to benefit me, not to distract me or make me scared or whatever?
Yeah.
The A is action. Action is everything. Activities and action. What are the activities that I'm involved in? What are the actions
Mm.
that I'm taking on a daily basis? Because life is all about the slight edge. And that slight edge means you're either moving forward or you're falling backward. There's no standing still. So the actions that you
Mm.
take will take you in one of those directions. The L is for leadership. We all When I was young, I did not want to be a leader.
Mm.
The last thing I wanted to be was a leader. I didn't want to be in charge of anything. That meant that I was kind
Yeah.
of like on the line. And I thought that was a bad thing. The older I get, I realize I wasn't a leader throughout my life. So life steered me in the directions that it took me. And I didn't like a lot of those directions, but I wasn't making the decisions. I was handing over the responsibility to somebody or something else. So being a leader of your own life is essential, and that is
Mm.
the vital. But the S for the vitals, the S is just as important as the vision. The S,
Yeah.
service, because service is everything. How am I being of service to people
Mm.
in my vision? How am I being of service to people with the impact that I'm making? How am I being
Mm.
of service to people through the technology that I'm using? How am I being of service in the action that I'm taking? And how am I being of service by being a leader? Because you don't want to be a leader that's like a manager
Mm.
or a boss at work that just tells everybody what to do. You want to be a servant leader who it's a watch what I'm doing because I will do the things that I would not do anything that I wouldn't also expect other people to do. I'm going to be of service to other people. So those six things for me, as I was getting
Mm.
unstuck, I was like, wow, those six things made a gigantic impact on my life because they got me unstuck. They gave me a great vision. They taught me that I got to get out of my own head and help other people. They taught me that I got to take action. I need to be in control of my life. I got to be making my own decisions. And I've got to let social media, digital, anything digital, any sort of content, I have to be in
Mm.
control of it and not let it be running me.
True. Exactly. Ah. So, I mean, if I ever have to say that, was, I mean, what was your breakthrough moment that made you say enough is enough?
It's a good question. Breakthrough moment, because, breakthroughs are like thousands of little things building up to one big thing. But I think my breakthrough moment really came when I launched my Unstuck Movement podcast. I had
Mm.
gone into the world of coaching, leadership coaching, communication coaching, business coaching,
Mm.
but I still felt stuck. And I had been, praying and meditating night after night. I'd spend like the last
Mm.
2 hours of my night just like what I know I'm supposed to be doing something.
Mm,
What is that thing? And uh, for most of my life, I was a radio DJ. So for 20 years of my life, radio broadcasting was my thing, and I wasn't doing any sort of
mm,
broadcasting whatsoever at this point in time. And I was stuck. And so I got this word one night of the unstuck movement. And it was more, it was as much for me as it was for like a platform
mm.
or for other people. But
True.
that was like the unstuck movement. Okay, so
Mm,
if you're stuck and you want to get unstuck, you have to have movement, right? That's the
mhm.
action part of this. And
Right.
the movement you take should be of service to other people. And I was like,
Mm,
the unstuck movement, that's exactly what I need, is that movement to get me out of this place. And what do I
mm,
need to do with that? I need to tell stories of other people who have gotten unstuck and build relationships with those people and have a platform that I lead that brings incredible people to me so I can help tell their stories, which will inspire other
mhm,
people. Avik, I mean, this is what you do also, right? So podcasting is incredible because you bring amazing people to your platform, have them tell your story, then you build a relationship. And number one, the forms of income you can grow out of that are huge, but the relationships you build out of that, the connections, the networking, the reach and visibility that comes out of that is huge. So if I look back,
mm,
that was probably about 2.5 years ago that I started the Unstuck movement. And since I did that, I've noticed things grow rapidly. And
mm.
I would say number one, it's because that's one of my giftings. Broadcasting, communication, that's one of my giftings. We all have our own unique giftings. And if you are not working out of your giftings, you probably feel stuck. You probably feel unfulfilled and you probably feel like things are harder than they need to be. But when you work out of your giftings, things
Mm,
come a lot easier because these are things that are like kind of just natural to you. And a lot of the times we kind of write these things off. We tend to focus on the things we're not good at and not focus on the things that we are good at. And I heard John Maxwell say before, you know, if I focus on a weakness, I might be a 3 in that weakness. And if I work really hard at it, maybe I can get to like a 5 or a 6. But if I'm a 7 or an 8 at something naturally, if I work really hard at that, I can be a 10. I can be the best at that thing. So why not focus on your giftings, your strengths, and double down on those things? So for me, it was doubling down on my gifts and my strengths, and then creating a platform to make my message. I had been stuck. I had been in a place of just it was just a place of disappointment, a place of being lost and confused, unhappy, unfulfilled, unconfident, right? And so as I stepped into this new part of me, or a part of me that I already knew existed, I just found it again and used it in a new way. I started seeing these breakthroughs happen again and again and again. And so that was it for me, launching the Unstuck movement, that platform, that
mm.
podcast, but also it was
Yeah.
launching a new mindset for myself.
Amazing. That's really amazing. So you know that a lot of our listeners are stuck in these cycles, uh, self-doubt, burnout, shame, and they keep waiting for that perfect moment. But
Mhm.
what I'm hearing from you is that you built that moment. That's really powerful.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't if you wait around for something to happen,
Mm,
you might that's like not being the leader of your own life. I could wait for somebody else to bring something to me for a breakthrough, but then if they do, it's not gonna be my thing. It's gonna be more somebody else's thing that I'm just tagging along with. If
mm.
I build the breakthrough, if I take lead on my own life,
Yeah.
and that's going to be massive for me. And then you can bring people along with you, right? So I view that as like the right way of doing it, taking charge of your own life. And I encourage other people to do that too. It doesn't mean it has to be your business, but it should be something, it has to be something that is a gifting of yours and it also is of service to people. And it needs to be a win-win-win, right? You've got to win, the other person needs to win, and it also benefits society as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. So also like when did you realize that your pain had a purpose and how did you know that people would listen to that?
Well, you know, there's if everybody goes through stuff in their life,
Mm.
what
Yeah.
would be the reason we would have to go through? So I'm a person of faith, right? Somebody who doesn't believe that there's any purpose to life might have a harder time believing there's a purpose behind their pain.
Mm.
But if you feel there's no purpose behind your pain, then man, your life's really hard and it's empty and it's hollow. At least that's how I used to be. I didn't think there was a purpose to why I was suffering,
Yeah.
and that made life really hard. But when I turned that around, and I knew that everything is being worked for good, then anything I've gone through that has been painful, I'm supposed to get through it, learn from it, and then show other people how to get through it.
Yeah.
I always just a simple way of saying it is making your mess your message. The mess that you go through becomes a message that you help other people with. And if you can start to look at your mess like that, it gives you more motivation to get through it because now I want to help somebody else do it. And if you know the mess is a message, then you know, okay, well, somebody else has gotten through this
Mm.
mess. How do I find a mentor or, positive people in my life who have pulled through this thing? Because now we're using this as leverage. Now you're building relationships that are number one, uh, building your connections, meeting great
Yeah.
people in your life, but you're also
Mm.
getting through really difficult things. And so,
Mm.
how did I realize, through this process, I was like, well, I love the expression, if you're going through hell, just keep going. Because if you're going through hell, why would you stop in hell and just sit there and burn, right? If you're going through hell, if you're going through something really difficult, you have
Yeah.
to keep going because
Mm.
just stopping is it's going to wreak havoc not only on your life, but everybody who's around you is going to feel the pain of that. So keep going and turn that mess into a message. You would not be going through something really difficult if there wasn't something amazing on the other side of it. Every breakdown comes before a massive breakthrough. So if you are experiencing a breakdown, you've got to believe there's a vision. You got to believe there's a breakthrough that's coming that is going to use this breakdown as fuel for the breakthrough. So you can look back at that thing and be like, boy, that was hard, but look where I am now. Because that's where, why would you not want to be there? Who would not want to be there? So keep going through it. And that might sound way too simple. And sometimes that's too simple to say, but like, that's it, man. Why deal with being stuck in this place? Do everything you can to get out of that spot so you can help other people and you can have a mission and it'll turn your life around. Anybody who's going through anything rough, I can't speak for everybody's situations, but I've gone through some hard things. And
Mm.
when I've gotten through them and I can look back on the other side, I'm like, thank God I went through that because I'm so much stronger for it. I'm so much wiser for it, and I can use it in so many different ways.
Exactly. Exactly true. Yeah. So, uh, I mean, also, like, for anyone who is listening, your story matters. And even if you're still in the messy middle, someone needs to hear it. So let Rob be the proof. So the listeners do think about it, yes. And also, here's a curveball, Rob. Like, was there a dream? I mean, literal or maybe metaphorical, that changed your life direction, if you can share.
Yeah, I had a dream back in
Hmm.
2021,
Oh.
and it was it was a
Hmm.
wild dream. It meant so much to me. So my grandmother had passed away at the time, but in this dream, I'm driving with her in a car, and she was driving. She never really drove, so it was weird that she was driving. And she was like holding my hand in the car, and I looked down. And I remember looking down and looking at my hand, and I had this little kid's hand, like I was like a little kid. I was like a 4 year old, and she leans over and hugs me while we're driving. And I
Ah.
said, Graham, watch out. You're gonna wreck the car. Watch out where you're going. And she said, don't worry about where we're going. Just
Mhm.
love me, okay? And
Oh.
that was such a So just in that, so in the dream, I start crying. I woke up from that dream. I don't know if anybody's ever had a cry like this, but it was like uncontrollable sobbing. I mean, I can't stop crying. Middle of the night, I wake up, I'm just bawling my eyes out. And I started like just taking notes, about what was going on. I had a notebook by my bed. And the message was, I mean, straight from God, because the tenets of God are, love God, love people. And don't worry about where you're going. It says in the Bible, not to worry. You can't add an inch to your height, so why worry about anything, right? So why are we worrying in life? It doesn't do you any good. It does no benefit to you whatsoever. Um,
Yeah.
and so that dream, like and I use it to this day all the time, because I'm supposed to be, we're supposed to be loving people, including ourselves. And that dream had such a significant impact on me, because it was so real, and it was so powerful, and the message was so clear. I need to stop worrying so much about where I'm going, how I'm going to get there, why am I not there yet? I want this amount of money, why don't I have it? I want this lifestyle, why don't I have it yet? And just being grateful every day for where I am, because it really is just a complete blessing that we're alive, that we have, like, the gratitude of that, right? Of the things we have in our life that are just amazing. I mean, we're on this podcast right now. I don't know how this microphone works. I don't know how my computer works. I don't know how my mouth and my voice work. I don't know how anything works, and I didn't build any of it. I may have purchased it, but I don't even know how the money was made that I purchased it with. Like, the whole thing is like, I didn't do anything to cause any of this, yet I can use all of it. It's all a blessing. So,
Yes.
and that bleeds into people. Like, you've no idea what other people are going through. You've no idea how impactful just smiling at somebody can be, or sharing a positive message with somebody can be, or just, in a situation where you'd normally be irritated driving, right? I get irritated driving every day, so I really practice, when I'm driving, staying calm and being present in just the fact that everybody on this road is just going somewhere. I don't need to be at war with all of them, because I need to get somewhere too. It's just little things like that of just loving people, just accepting people for who they are, um, and appreciating them for who they are, and finding the good in all of that. And that, not saying I'm perfect at it, because I fail at it constantly, but when I get it right, it is like, holy cow, this is
Yeah.
those days, or those times when I get it right, things are so good. And that dream just, that dream kind of like, like branding, like when they would brand a cow with like an insignia, by the owners would brand the cow. That dream kind of branded that message like onto my heart of like, remember, you don't be so worried about where you're going. Just love people while you're doing your thing, and it's all going to work out. And I have to repeat that message over and over and over again, because you can lose sight of it really easily.
True. Exactly. Wow. So, and Rob, like, you shared some insights today, from communication to the leadership to the purpose, but uh, let's land this into the bold and real. I mean, what does it mean to be yourself? I mean, in a world that is constantly trying to make you into someone else. So, what do you like to say?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, I didn't really know who I was. I was not sure. I don't know. There was like a version inside of me that I didn't know how to get out. I didn't know how to be me.
Mm,
And we all should desire to want to be ourselves, especially if you're a people pleaser. Then you've probably experienced this, where you sacrifice your wants, desires, or what you know is right, because you want to please somebody else. And it can be a really unhealthy trait to get yourself into. It can be a real disaster when you go down
mm,
that path. And I found that
mm,
this bold art of being myself came from knowing how to communicate effectively.
mm,
And a lot of us, we really struggle with communicating effectively, communicating what we want. So I called this the 6 attitudes of brilliant communicators. And this helps you to be yourself. This is something that I've used for me to be myself. Number one, you've got to be bold. So It's not saying you have to insult people or blow through people or be harsh, but if you know this is the right thing to say, the right thing to do, then be bold and do it. You
Correct.
got to be fresh in your communication. So being fresh, the world, we often communicate like nobody, like, we don't listen to what somebody else says. We just say what we're thinking and we feel what we're saying is the most important. Fresh communication is actually listening to people, asking
Mhm.
questions, and being genuinely curious to learn about people because you learn so much when you listen. To be pliable. So,
Mm.
to being a people pleaser, you bend till you broke, right? So that's what
Mm.
I would do. I'd bend myself until I broke and I wasn't even me anymore. I was just being whoever somebody else
Mm.
wanted me to be or who I thought they needed me to be. But I like to think of it like leather. Good leather is really bendable, really pliable, but it doesn't break. So no matter how much I try to help somebody and relate to them, I never lose myself. And that's a constant practice, but a really important one. Being precise is another one. We know so
Mm.
many people who talk in circles or they'll talk forever, very long winded, right? Short story long kind of thing. And it's very important to be precise in how you communicate because you want to be able to,
Yeah.
the best communicators can communicate intricate and confusing, difficult topics in really simple ways.
Mhm.
And then being
Exactly.
confident. So being confident is so huge. And how can you be confident in your communication? Well, you have to, number one, communicate a lot. That's one of the biggest things. You've got to talk a lot. And you've got to know what you're talking about. And confidence comes from knowing that you know. Not like, I'm gonna quote unquote fake it until I make it. I think we all have to like kind of fake it a little bit as we're
Exactly.
going along in the process. But at the same time, if you want to get somewhere,
Yeah.
why not put the work in to get there as fast as possible? It's like the 10,000 hours, right? Or the
Exactly.
10 years. Get to that
Mhm.
mastery level. And so I think of this, if we are going back to our gifts, if I'm
Mhm.
working on getting better at my gifts, I'm going to be more confident. If I'm constantly working on making my weaknesses better, I'm not going to be as confident. But if I work and live out of my giftings, I'm gonna be confident. Now, of course, there's gonna be things that I'm not great at, but I'm not gonna be as insecure because they are not my
Mhm.
focus. Those things will improve as I grow towards my vision,
Mhm.
and people will come up beside me and alongside me to help me and assist me, who their gifting might be numbers, math, accounting. That's not my gifting. That's
Perfect.
when I put myself in that place, I'm a mess. But when I put myself in a place of communicating,
Mhm.
visioning for people, process, procedure, man, that's where I excel. I love doing that, and that makes me feel confident. And
Oh.
then be remarkable. So the sixth attitude of brilliant communication,
Mm.
being remarkable, and remarkable communicators.
Mhm.
It's straight out of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's being genuinely interested in other people. When you're genuinely interested in other people, you will be
Mhm.
remarkable to other people because that is not what most people do. And so for me, that was like those six things, learning how to communicate
Mhm.
really well taught me how to be myself. So I no longer had to kind of like hide behind a facade because I now know how to communicate who I am and what I want. And that gives you a lot of power.
Exactly. Amazing. Amazing. So, to everyone who is listening, dear listeners, maybe you are in the middle of your mess right now, or maybe you are broken promises to yourself, felt like you are falling behind, or questioned if you are even worth the comeback. So, here's your reminder, yes, you are. And like Rob said, there's a message buried in your chaos, and someone's waiting on the other side of your breakthrough.
Yeah.
So, dear listeners, pause, reflect, and then rewrite your inner script. So, and then share this episode with a brother who needs it and leave a review. And as always, stay curious, stay courageous, and stay connected. So, this is your host, Ravik, signing off from Mind Over Masculinity. Until next time, reminding you that it's not being the toughest guy in the room, it's all about being the most authentic one.
Mhm.
So, with this hope, stay happy, stay healthy. Thank you so much.
Yeah.